All right, great day, everybody. I was getting some work done and I was listening to some audios and even watching some videos. And there are many on social media and social platforms. Many of y'all are doing an awesome job, like awesome. And thank God for the work y'all are doing. But I just want to make this audio video just for some clarity. Just for some clarity. That's all. February is known as Black History Month, right? But those who may post about it or upload about it, they're not, they're not thinking about the servitude or the slavery, or they're not recalling the servitude or the slavery. That's not what's being thought of, and it's not about holding anybody accountable, because that's not what it's about. God, God will hold wrongdoers accountable. He said in Exodus chapter 20, I am the Lord your God. I brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery or the house of bondage. God will hold wrongdoers accountable. And we can see that now in America. That's easy to see. And there are other ethnic groups who've had similar experiences, like those um, from Africa and other places, had similar experiences. So it's not about the servitude or the slavery, but it's about the honor. It's honoring those who withstood injustice, unfairness, inequality, unrighteousness, dehumanization. They withstood it and they overcame it. They were champions for the truth and for righteousness. The former generations couldn't read or write, so they underwent a lot of mistreatment. But the generations that came along later, who could read and write, because the earlier generations, they were forbidden to read or write. So even if they were caught, they were beaten mercilessly, you know. But the later generations came along who could read and write, and those who were more educated, and they read the scriptures that said, let justice roll down like water, righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Scriptures that spoke about justice, equality. They read that in the scriptures, and they stood for that. They stood for it. And most of those people who underwent the injustices were Christians. The civil rights movement came out of the church. That's where it came from. A lot of the movements came out of the church. And it came from the scriptures. So we honor them. We honor them. as champions because they withstood, they endured, they suffered, but they overcame. And they're champions. And that's to be honored. We don't forget that. We don't forget what they went through for us. But it's about honor. It's about honor. About honoring them. Not worshiping them, but honoring them. Because they'll do that. And even in the book of Hebrews, there's a hall of faith, a great cloud of witnesses, examples, witnesses, and examples. And we honor them for what they went through. And without a past, you can't have a present. There's some things from the past you can't forget. And again, we're not looking at the servitude or the dehumanization, right? But we can look at their examples. And if any of those experiences they went through start to recur, we'll know how to handle it. So if we see the recurrence of those experiences they went through, injustices and unfairness, those of us who are the new generation and new generations, we can look at those examples and we know how to handle those situations. Like the heroes of the past and the Hall of Faith. They're our examples of faith. And we know how to handle those experiences because of faith. And most of the people, again, they were people of faith. And we don't forget about the martyrs. The martyrs are to be honored. God himself created a hall of faith for them to be honored and for them to be remembered. And that's what we do for the African heroes. And even there were Jews and the Indians. There were others who went through some really bad experiences. But they overcame. That's the good part about it. They are to be honored. My mom and dad were born in the 30s and the 50s. And they went through a lot for us. They went through a lot so that they could make provisions for us. And now we are where we are because they fought and they withstood, they overcame. And now, here we are, we enjoy everything that they did for us. But we're not going to forget about our parents, or your grandparents. Now, one truth is, there are some ethnic groups that don't know what that feels like. They don't know what it feels like. Some people probably were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And some weren't. But there are some people who don't know what certain things feel like. They don't know. But we honor the ancestors, our ancestors, other ancestors, and generations before who endured. But the greatest example of all was Jesus. Jesus died one of the most horrible deaths. Capital punishment. One of the most horrible deaths that a man could die. But he overcame for us. And he tells us throughout Scripture Don't forget what I did for you. Don't forget. The symbol of the Christian faith is a cross, because we're not to forget about what he did for us. The humiliation, the shame, the dehumanization. We don't forget about that. But we honor him for it. We honor him. Paul said, I want to know him. The power of his resurrection. Fellowship of his sufferings. We remember what he did for us. That helps us to get through our Christian lives by remembering what Jesus did for us. And never forget.